All right, up next, starting on the KTM 530. So, got the old Ultra over there, pretty close to done. Fuel fitting's done. She's a runner, so moving on to this guy. So, was hoping that it would just be a quick, go over some of the electrical system. The guy basically told me it had no spark. That was the issue with it. So, he said he replaced the stator and the flywheel, and when I pulled that stator cover off, full of metal. So something else, I got the shaft on this one for sure. Definitely didn't get the whole story there. So threw a battery in it and I got it cranked over, and she's knocking pretty hard. So that's not good, obviously. Scoped the cylinder and it looks to be metal on top of the piston as well. So I don't know if that stator failed, pumped, through the motor. I did have the valve cover off already too to look at and see if the top end was killed. Fortunately, I didn't find any metal up under the valve cover. Cams look good, and I really have no issues there so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and start draining the fluids out of this guy, see if I can pull that head off and see what we got for a cylinder. Cylinder's already not looking good on the scope, so definitely gonna have to send that guy out and likely gonna tear the whole bottom end apart on it and see what we can do, if it needs a rebuild or what. So get going on that. Okay, work on KTM. About to pull this head off. Just getting the oil out here. And this oil was literally in the bike for probably a minute while it was running. And I got some nice brass colored chunks in there. And really only one place brass is in these motors, and that's connecting rod. So we'll see. Maybe it's a small end of the connecting rod and the brass bushing's gone out of that, but we'll see. I'm also kind of expecting a big end failure with these bikes. So either way, we're gonna finish getting this drained out. Gonna do the oil migration mod if it doesn't already have it already, because these bikes have a separate engine and transmission oil, which is nice in that if it hasn't been done, I don't have to worry about any metal going through the transmission. Should be all right. But eventually your engine oil will start to fill up your gearbox on these and you'll have low engine oil. So basically just drill a hole in the case on the other side and she'll level herself out. So on to the next thing. Okay, down to the top of the piston. So pulled this off already. It was starting to score the inside of the new flywheel. So can't really feel anything moving in the crank. Like you'd think the run out would be huge for it to be doing that, but I guess we'll see. So made her down here. No piston rocking. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and take that cylinder off and see what connecting rod looks like. So just wanted to come back in here as I'm trying to get this cylinder off and look at the top of that piston. It looks like either this thing was just rebuilt or rebuilt not that long ago. So, but there's almost zero piston to wall clearance. It's hard to see down in there, but cylinder's really tight trying to get it off. So I'm gonna keep trying to get that piston out of the hole. Okay, wow, did that beat me up getting that out of there. So ended up basically having to suck the piston out of the bottom of the cylinder. Cylinder had a bunch of metal wedged up in here, so it didn't want to come out. You guys can see that. That's oof. So somebody was in here before, and you can see a bit of the brass coming out of that lower connecting rod. So piston, although it looks new, sides are fucked on it. Cylinder is going to need to be replated, and not sure if you guys can hear that on there, but there's just starting to be the up and down play in the connecting rod that so just starting. It's a good time to tear it down, but it does have a lot of side to side play. So between the side to side play and the rocking in the bore, that's probably what chewed up this cylinder. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear this thing the rest of the way out of the frame because we're gonna have to split the cases, but it's usually easier to pull a top end off in the bike. So it's a nice engine stand, so I guess start working on the rest of it and get this motor out. So the plot thickens. All right, so there you guys can see the bore. And it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the world, but you definitely catch fingernail on it. So Just gonna send that away and get it replated. So this guy, it looks like somebody maybe did a top end on this. You got a nice DLC coated wrist pin in here, but it's got no clearance. Even when I clean this out, that is, I swear this is the wrong piston for this bike. 94.95, that is the bore that you can get, or 94.94. Usually, I don't know. This guy obviously didn't measure piston to wall clearance, and maybe that's not the wrist pin for this bike, but absolutely zero play in there like that. Anybody knows motors knows it should not be like that, and that's even with it cleaned out. So you can see metal fragments just chucked up underneath there. Skirts of the piston are absolutely worn off. If you go back over to the bike, you can see even, there's metal pieces right on top of the connecting rods, so it should definitely hurt, but we'll see what else we can find. Okay, I got her down to just about to bust this main shaft off and pull the cases apart, but this motor was, it was real bad. Not at all what was sold to me there. So you guys can see when I got down in here, huge chunks down in there. Actually down past the balance shaft, I can't get you down in there, but so much metal and shit on the balance shaft that wouldn't even come out. So, and the oil pump gear is sheared off, the plastic gear. So I guess just see what else we find. Hopefully the cases, I'm gonna have to find big pieces coming from somewhere. So we'll see how the cases are when I get into it, if they're salvageable, because these are rare cases that could kill the bike, so let's keep going on it. Okay, next update. So KTM will want to sell you a special tool here to pull the your primary gear off the crank. Don't do that. You can get away with one of these bearing pullers, just like a universal one from Princess Auto. This really is not even on there, like I'm turning it with a hand. So there, that's all it takes. So yes, you can get away with just a generic bearing puller, which is nice. Yeah, cases are apart. Really came apart with no drama. One of the actually easiest cases to split that I've done. Which again leads me to believe somebody was in here not that long ago, because nothing was seized, not even your dowel pins. So, looking at it, doesn't look that good. So, a lot of metal sitting down in here as well. Looks like a little bit of damage to the crankcase. Might be able to get away with just some grinding down the spots, just where it's ridged up a little bit. Looking down through the crank here, it's not looking good. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this crank out and get there. Okay, so got this guy pulled out, and wow, complete crank bearing failure. I've never seen that. Never seen where the ball bearing fails. I've only seen it where it starts to get play in it and change it out, but this is insane. So I have to go in here and get it cleaned up and see what the case looks like, but wow, that is bad. Fortunately, transmission, everything looks good there. The oil that came out of it was good, knew it would be, so there we go. Okay, so I got everything apart, transmission's pulled out. Transmission looks good, nothing wrong there, and there's the inside of the right side case, so you can see it just wiped the whole thing out. I'm gonna have to push out what's left of that bearing and see what the inside, like where your race would sit for the bearing, what that looks like in the case, and I guess that'll determine what I'm doing. Yeah, it's just too bad. But I think that's where this guy will stop for a little bit. I gotta go do some shopping, see if it's even better to find a motor for it, because these cases are gonna be really hard to find. So, all right, well, there we go.